When there's a big change coming up, how do you handle it? Hi there, and welcome back to Ask Dr. Saira, our show where I answer your questions about spirituality, personal development, and mental health. So let's dive into today's question. It's from Farhana, and Farhana says, I'm going through a big life change. I'm getting married and moving cities to be with my partner. Any tips to deal with all of these changes? I'm going through a big life change. I'm getting married and moving cities to be with my partner. Any tips to deal with this change? First of all, congratulations on your wedding and your marriage and your this next phase of your life. Culturally, there's in different communities, there are all of these kind of rituals and routines and rhythms around marriage, specifically the wedding. And so while wedding planning can be crazy, like really intense, there are some things that you'll want as anchors, right? And so I'm assuming your questions are not so much about the wedding planning, wedding part, but the aftermath. And nobody talks about that, right? It's like happily ever after, and there's the big wedding, and then what, right? So I love that you're asking this question for Hannah, and you're thinking about, what is it going to be like? How can I prepare myself for these changes? And so some of the changes you mentioned were getting married, and then the second one is moving cities to be with your partner. So there's three areas that I would encourage you to pay attention to while you're going through these changes, and this transitional time is really what it is. So there's social, emotional, and physical. Okay, social, emotional, physical, in no particular order. Let's start with physical. So it's really super important that you have non-negotiable rhythms and routines in your life. Super important for us to have good mental health and good physical health. We need those rhythms and routines. And so from a physical perspective, you want to make sure that you're eating right, that you're moving, you're exercising, you're looking after your physical needs, whatever those are. You're not sitting too much, you're getting up and moving around, you're just moving around this body, right? Like where most of us do work, many of us do work where we're sitting, and those of us who have body intensive job, the body is actually tired by the end of the day, physically exhausted. And so neither extreme is really good for us. We have to kind of try to find the middle point there where we're moving our body, we're engaging in the world physically, but we're also not to that point where we're just exhausted. And not all of us have that privilege to make that choice, what we want our job to be. But if you have some choices, if you can make some choices, that might be a place to start those physical rhythms and routines. So that would be the first thing that I would say, is that physical rhythms and routines. The second is emotional. So within emotional, I would say there's three things. One is journaling. It is incredible. Like what you're going through right now is an incredible time. And it's so neat, I think, to look back years later. Like, what was it like when we first got married, and see that, and see those notes and see those words, and what it was like. Some people like to journal and just throw it away, which is fine too, if that's kind of what works for you. But writing things down on paper, having a place to process your emotion during this time will be really important. So that's the one. The second with emotion is meditation. So whether it's a guided meditation, a silent meditation, a walking meditation, mindful eating, like whatever it is to bring awareness to this present moment and center yourself back to the now, super important for your emotional stability and well-being. When we're in this new space of so many changes, it can be very overwhelming. And very quickly, without really meaning to, we can pop into our fight or flight brain. So we want to make sure we keep coming back to that steadiness inside, that emotional steadiness, by journaling and by doing a meditation practice. And the third one is having a human outlet. So that actually leads us, is kind of overlaps with the social piece, right? So for our emotional well-being, it's nice to have a human person that you can talk to about whatever you need to talk to about. And if you don't have that in your family and friend circle, perhaps you're doing that with a counselor or a coach or a therapist. Maybe you're doing that with your, at your place of worship with whoever it is that leads your faith community, right? To have somewhere to talk about what you're going through and have someone really listen and not necessarily advise you or try to fix it, but just be there for you and be there with you. That's super important. So those 3 things for our emotional health during times like this of transition. And the third one is social. When you move cities, it takes a huge, it really impacts our social life, right? When we move cities. Things are different, much different now, where you can connect virtually from anywhere in the world, but it's not the same, right? It's not the same having a virtual online chat versus actually sitting across with a human and having a coffee together, right? It's not the same. And so it's important to have to know what your plan is for your social connections as you leave. So when I moved cities, there was 2 or 3 people who I was really committed, really committed to keeping in touch with. And so what I did was the first month that I was in the new place, I wrote letters, physical letters, like olden days. I wrote them letters, and those letters were miserable. They're like, what have I done? Why have I moved? This is awful. And then they got better. But I only did that once or twice, but it gave me a touch point with my social support system, because you don't know anybody. Well, you know your partner in the new place, but you might not know anybody else. And so that social support is super important. Even if you're an introvert and, people are like, you can take them or leave them, even then, social support is important. And so if you are struggling, tap into your social group, whatever that is, right? That might be people you're related to or people you're not related to who get you, who really get you. So ensuring that social plan, the plan for your friendships is there after you move is really important. And then in the new place, being willing to meet new people, right? Being willing to build new connections and relationships. These people don't know who you are. You get to start with a clean slate in this new place. So you can really enjoy that. You can really kind of define and redefine yourself in this new place as a married person, living in a new city. So congratulations. This is an exciting time. In some ways, it can be a really difficult time as you let go of a lot of things and you kind of move into this next phase of committed long-term partnership through marriage. And so, yeah, congratulations. And I'm glad you asked the question. I wish more people would ask that question about what do we do after the wedding? So I'm so glad you did that. Just keep an eye out if you're interested for our couples courses. I offer couples courses once or twice in a year. So if that's something you're interested in and you want more tools specifically around romantic relationships, then keep an eye out for Love Talks, which is our couples course. And anything else, if you want to stay in touch with us or if you have a question that you want to ask me, visit us at dragonflywellnesscenter.ca. That's where you can reach us. That's where you can reach me and all of my therapists and coaches and energy workers and all of the people who are kind of group facilitators. And you can continue this journey of learning with us. Have a good day, and I'll talk to you soon.